Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Jovia Business Banking, along with Donyshia Boston Hills, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing, and digital agency. And we're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship.
Ray and I bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry.
So, what's new this week?
We are in the thick of just event production mode for us.
Yes.
So it's full-on controlled chaos.
Controlled chaos. I like that.
We like that.
Yeah.
We like that.
That means you're alive.
It is. It's kind of like when you're doing a monthly closeout or approving a loan for someone.
Yeah.
It's like high impact and high energy.
Yeah, it's very exciting stuff.
It is.
Yes.
It's what I thrive to do.
Yes.
I mean, what would I do if I wasn't doing this?
I don't know.
I have no idea. But what I will tell you is that I want to jump into a little success chat because a lot of creativity is like heavy on my mind.
Okay.
So according to most entrepreneurs, you have to believe it before you can see it. And I definitely think a lot of entrepreneurs have vision. Creativity and creative people use their curiosity to drive creative. But we always have to have the willing to say yes.
Okay.
You know, I hear that a lot from people like Mark Cuban. It's like the controlled crazy is really the creative ones.
Okay. And we have somebody very creative with us today,
I think so. And I met this guy. I was like, wow, he is like blowing me away with creativity. I loved it.
Now helping provide us with business empowerment today is our guest, Cristobal Almonte, CEO of Evolution Event Rentals. Now, Evolution Event Rentals has grown from a small local company to a regional industry leader. Cris started Evolution Rentals 9 years ago in his father's garage with just one love seat, and he's grown several times its current size, 18,000 square feet warehouse, and his selection of furniture and fabricates for corporate, celebrity, wedding, and social events across the country. Welcome to the show, Cris.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're so happy to have you. Now,
thank you.
Chris,
happy to be here.
Is it okay if we call you Cris or Mr. Almonte?
Cris is good.
All right, Cris.
Cris is good.
Most people, Apple and other major brands, they started in their garages.
Yeah.
You know, what was your inspiration for having that first piece of rental furniture or decor?
My cousin's Sweet 16. It was just a matter. I was actually working for another company at the time who wasn't willing to produce this one piece or a certain style sofa love seat that my cousin wanted for her Sweet 16. So I said, you know what, well, I'll figure out a way to make it. And behind the scenes, while working full-time for that company and another company at the same time, I took whatever experience I had in building stuff or contacts and just built the sofa for her, the love seat. And that was it.
Nice.
After that day, somebody called me. They loved the love seat. They rented it again. And then I said, okay, I think this might work.
Okay.
So,
and I hear that, you were, tallying up your earnings on a piece of a notepad.
Yeah, so initially, when we were really small, I was small enough to say, okay, I can start writing down what I'm making. And, pennies here, pennies there. And then eventually when I made like my first, I think earlier I said my first $1,000 for the month, which was huge at the time. I'm like, wow, $1,000. This is going to happen. And then it just spiraled from there and went up.
It's funny. I didn't really know that this sort of thing was considered a business until I started going to Sweet 16s. When my daughter went, through that, and so how is it that you get the clients into you to talk with you about doing business?
For us, I've never done anything traditional. It's always been social media, word of mouth or social media. And the first event that I did was, word of mouth. So that client was there doing something else, saw my piece and said, can I get that guy's number? And it went from there. And to this day, it's still word of mouth and just a matter of production, what you do, what you can't do. And if you could do it, then they'll call you for it. You have to be known for it, I guess. This market is really saturated, so to be known for something in particular is very special these days because anybody can pretty much rent anything. You can pick up a chair and say, hey, I'm renting, and 1,000 people will pop up next month and they'll be renting the same thing. So creativity, like you said before, is key, not only for growth, expansion, but for surviving in what I consider is a very saturated New York market.
And I think that's so important that you not only rent these items, but in your warehouse, I mean, you're building pieces. When I walked in, I was like, wow, this is, you've moved from your garage, now you have this warehouse, and it's like a little production house there. A little Santa tinkering going on.
It was definitely transition over time also was, from one tiny little place to a medium-sized place to then a larger place. As our builds got bigger, as our production got bigger, we needed more and more space. We're about 90% custom, so although we do house a lot of stock inventory, I prefer to build almost everything. So if I can build it here, and not have to import it, I'd rather just build it here.
Made in America, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, what's the most creative piece to date that you've created?
I actually lost count. We've done a lot of things for, in particular, Macy's recently, but we built an entire facade, a brownstone with steps to sit on. I mean, door, non-functioning, but windows, everything, an entire actual 12, 14-foot tall building. That, I think, was probably one of my most creative and one of the most last-minute intense jobs that I've had to physically build in my shop to produce for the following morning. We were building that into that night, into the next morning. Maybe that one has to be one of my favorite ones, only because it looks I think it looks good. I don't want to tell my own, but it looks really, really good. We had a lot of fun building it. Macy's Culinary had, a blast with it, and I hope to use that piece again.
I think you will. I think you will.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, and our guest today is Cristobal Almonte. He is the CEO of Evolution Event Rentals.
So, Chris, behind the scenes, we were discussing, you have, a lot of clients. Some you sign NDAs with, so you can't share with the audience, but you've built, almost everything, full-fledged, conferences, sports arena, attractions and experiences. But recently you did a piece where you had like 1,000 people watching you work.
So recently we did Zendaya's new fragrance launch, and it was a hard start at 3, but, we had to be done within an hour, and it's an entire 12 by 18, 16-inch stage custom, 12-foot wall. But the pressure part of it was the hour and a half or so, maybe less, at least it felt like it was less, to actually construct this. And then, to top it off, you have several hundred or 1,000 plus people watching and waiting for Zendaya, but they're sitting there now watching you, erect this stage and wall for their favorite artist. And to me, that was a first. I work under pressure all the time. I think I thrive on it. But this particular type of pressure, being watched like that, was the first for me.
That's a lot.
It is. You're in between Zendaya and
exactly.
in there.
It's Macy's Herald Square. It's always crowded. Tons of tourists. Tons of people shopping. But this total other experience. This was people specifically standing there watching you, and you're just moving like a machine because you don't have a choice, and you just go until you're done. That's
wow.
it.
That's cool stuff. Huh?
That's pretty crazy. So now the work that you do, is it entirely corporate work?
No, we do a lot of large-scale weddings, sweet 16s, bar mitzvahs, baby showers these days are nothing short of a wedding. They're that big, very intricate, a lot of detail. And again, that's where I think we flourished, is because we were able to produce these visions. We work with a tremendous group of very talented industry people, event planners, designers. So we're pretty broad.
Do you have a favorite type of event that you like to do?
No, it's not the event that I care about. It's what we're building that actually and excites me about the business. And if you look at my hashtags, you'll see one or two that pops up. It's love of a finished product. So you start with a piece of plywood, and it ends up in somebody's wedding photo 25 years down the road because you built this for them. That there's a love for that product that I think drives me to continue and go forward. It's very stressful. There's a lot of demand, but that ultimately right there is what drives a lot of what I do and love to do.
Nice. So you're sitting down with like the marketing team, or a bride and her team, or someone sweet 16 birthday girl that's coming up with these grandiose ideas. How do you reel them in, Cris, to say, okay, this is within budget, this is what I can really do? Yeah.
Reeling them in is I can't say that I reel them in. I have to give them realistic options. Like if you have a dream but with an unrealistic way of going about it, I'm going to probably tell you right away, just so that nobody wastes anybody's time, because it's all a matter of can you or can't you, and if you can't, then we can't go any further. So I don't reel them in. I just give them, this is what we can do. I do make some exceptions, because if I think that I can produce this item and I know I could do it again, or use it again, I'll say, okay, I'll take a hit, because I'll move this some other time. But for the most part, I'm very upfront. Like, it's not even going to work.
Right.
So dreams, that's the thing, though. So social media does that to people. They see everything.
Yes.
But don't realize what that everything costs. And then the dream from there goes or doesn't. So.
Yeah, and you have a lot of people working behind the scenes. You mentioned designers and carpenters.
Yeah.
What makes your team so special and great? I mean, you can't do it alone.
How'd you get those people?
Well, how'd I get them? How'd I keep them? Was two different situations. But how I got them is just a matter of luck of the draw, I guess. The actual dedicated ones, some involve family, some involve longtime friends. Those are hard to find. Dedicated teams are far and few between. And out of 100 employees that you'll go through in a year, you'll retain 10. It's a 10% retention, right? So that's all you'll keep. And even then, after that, out of that 10, 5 years, maybe half of them will still be around. But I think that finding talent like that is really difficult and is tremendously detrimental to the functionality of a business. Right. I don't go anywhere without these guys. And, there's some people in there that I'm telling you, it would not function without them. I mean, I can sit here and get jobs all day, and that doesn't matter if there's nobody back there to produce it. So I'm still fabricating. I'm still building. I told you before, I'm working on the business rather than in it. I'm still fabricating. I'm still covered in sawdust 1 or 2 days a week. But it's transitioning to no more, because I have to do things like hang out with you guys.
Yes.
And grow.
Great show, and grow and make more money and pay more bills.
Now, what do you find most inspiring about what you do?
I'm going to sound repetitive, but the actual finished product.
Okay.
It's from paper to product. It could be a scribble. And it's weird. I actually don't work too much from definitive plans. I don't have this drawing with dimensions. I kind of have, give me a raw dimension, what kind of box I'm building today, and I'm going to build it. It comes out right about 95% of the time. The other 5%, I have to break it down and fix it.
That's okay.
That's what inspires me, is the actual finished product. And I couldn't say any more. I mean, that's pretty much it. Money's money. It'll always inspire most people. It definitely inspires me, but it can't be all of it. It has to be something else. It has to be a passion for what you do. If not, I'd just get a regular job, or I would have stayed working for the company that that I used to work for, which I eventually bought out anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist.
Oh, I love that, Cris.
That's a great
You just
story.
Inspired so many people that are listening to
I eventually took every last stitch of inventory, and I have since bought it all out. And that's just how it goes. You either eat or be eaten. So, and not to sound ahead of myself, but that's just the way it worked. I worked for him for 4 or 5 years doing everything, and it was a matter of time before I just kind of walked away. And then, as the world is, I ended up taking everything that he had. Not out of, malintent. It was just...
No, but that's business, and that's what happens. And you know what? It's great to take it from, acquire someone they trust you, that they can leave their company in good hands, versus selling to someone where you have no idea what's going to happen.
Exactly.
In the future.
I would do the same. I wouldn't just walk away. I have clients that are now friends. That's another thing that's very inspiring, is now we're building families out of clients. I have clients now that I've grown with, that when I was still in a van, I was doing things back to back with them, and we're still working together. We're a lot bigger. We're all bigger. We've all grown together. But that's also very inspiring, is the family and the camaraderie that I've built over the years. There's some of those things they don't just up and disappear.
No, you can't buy that anyway.
Nah. No.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Cristobal Almonte, CEO of Evolution Event Rentals. My name is Donyshia Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwetz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Donyshia Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwetz. And we're back again with our good friend, Cristobal Almonte, CEO of Evolution Event Rentals.
Now, Cris, you're a very positive and hardworking and inspiring person, but I'm sure there are things that keep you up at night. What are some of the things that keep you up at night or might stress you, and how do you work with that?
So the biggest thing is getting it all done and out on time, getting it picked up on time. I mean, anything that has anything to do with keeping a good staff in order is probably one of the most stressful things I can deal with. I mean, we've gone through guys just not showing up. I've had to hop on trucks at the last minute. I've had guys just flat out leave in the middle of a job and just that's it. They're gone. They'll take an Uber and go home and leave my truck. Yeah, it's happened. But really, that's probably one of the more stressful parts because it expands from that. It's not just, okay, the guy didn't show up, but now what happens to the customer's order? Okay, is it going to get there on time? And if the guy does show up, is he checking his truck? Is he making sure that everything is on that truck that's supposed to be there for the client? It ultimately ends with how satisfied the client is. And that, I think, what starts as the guy showing up later, the guy not showing up at all, the guy doing the wrong thing, ultimately ends with satisfying the client. And that keeps me up at night, I think, the majority of the time. The rest of it is all back office, back of the house business stuff and, I guess, day-to-day business things. But I think those keep every small business owner awake at night. Like,
sure,
how are we going to get it done? And is the legacy... Actually, no, let me add to that. I think now that I've grown to the point that we're at, I think my concern and what actually keeps me up at night is if I'm building a legacy that will last through my children's adulthood. Am I going to build something that they can have, if they choose to, have to run? Am I going to build something that's sustainable? That is very difficult to actually comprehend. And there are days where I'm thinking, this isn't going to last. How? Impossible. And then it does. And then, you go to bed, or you don't. And,
or you keep working through the night.
Or you work through the night. And we've had our 24-hour days. It happens.
Sure.
I've gone 30-plus, no sleep, full production mode, and just got to get it done.
And that's what keeps you moving forward. It's like, you have this event, this product, this customer, this satisfaction that you need to deliver, and it's not easy.
The responsibilities, a small business owner, medium, large, or small, is tremendous. I mean, especially if you actually care. Right. If you care about the employees that are actually caring about you and your clients and whatnot, you face a whole different gamut of responsibilities and things that keep you up at night. It's not just the employees, but the employees that actually depend on you to make sure that I'm doing my job. That's another thing too. Is people depend on me to pay them every Friday so they can pay their bills, their mortgages, whatever the case is, phone bills. That also is another keep you up at night situation where if you actually care and it's not just about you, then you have a tremendous responsibility now because you're providing a local labor force with a source of income, which I'm very partial to. By the way, I'm a local company. I went to school in Copiague. I grew up in Copiague. My company started based in Copiague. Will always stay there, with the exception of expansion. But you have a major responsibility to the community, to the local labor force, and things like that to just keep it on the level and make sure that on Friday everybody gets paid and so forth and so forth. You make as many turns as you can and exceptions here and there, but you definitely you definitely want to maintain that level of stability because you're responsible for that. So
it's no easy feat.
No.
And I'll ask you, Cris, can you share with our audience 3 tips you would like to share regarding entrepreneurship in your journey? It seems like 9 years has been a whirlwind for you.
I would try a little schooling in the beginning. Any courses that might help you just with the maneuvering of your back office. It's one thing to write things down on a little notebook when you're still out of a garage at your dad's house, right? But it's another to now take on the force of taxes, the force of payroll, the force of payables and all that. So definitely I think some courses or some schooling in the beginning, which I wish I would have taken, would definitely help. It doesn't have to be a full-blown, you owe $50,000 to a college type of education, but I think in the beginning some type of schooling or would definitely help. In the beginning, for my purposes, I stress low cost, low overhead. It's detrimental to expansion and to survivability. So if you can keep your overhead low in the beginning, I think you'll expand that much faster. We were virtually a debt-free company for the first 5 or 6, even 7 years, zero debt. I've taken on things like that just because, we have to. We got to expand. And
you got to grow.
Yeah, and you got to grow, and there's only so much of your own that you can put up before you start to risk it all. But definitely overhead, super low in the beginning, low debt. The cheapest rent you can find if you need to rent something. If your dad has a big enough garage, ask him to let you use it for 5 years and it'll work. Tip number 3 is, I guess the third tip ultimately is to hope and find a business that you're passionate about. And that also will help with the extension and the growth of the overall business. So passion in the business definitely is the third. Second is low overhead. And first is some minor to minimal education on the in and outs of a business.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Our guest today is Cristobal Almonte, CEO of Evolution Event Rentals. Now, Cris, I love what I hear with regards to your concerns because and your advice, because what's really great, and I think with other business owners, are also identifying with, is that your main concern is that what happens with the client at the end of the day, and then the employees. And I do want to applaud you because I think that that's the kind of thing that starts from the top and then it works its way through the employees, and the clients, they feel it when they get the piece or the service at the end of the day. So I would just say that's one thing that for me, as someone who works with business owners day in, day out, it's that attitude that will leave a legacy that you're concerned about. So I would say just keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And so what keeps pushing you forward? Is it the creative side? We know it's not the money, but money is great.
Oh, no, wait, it's the money. A little.
Hey,
a little
gotta get
money
paid.
is great. You definitely want to be paid right for your services. And it's a lot that goes into some of these installations that you're building.
Yeah.
It's not just, you're no regular, pick up the phone and can I rent 2 tables and a chair type of business. You're doing major installations. And I just looking around your warehouse, I'm just like, wow, this is fantastic. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, Chris's website does him no justice.
No.
Just because he has to keep a lot of things behind the curtain. He's like the Wizard of Oz right now.
Well, you said you also use social media as well.
Yeah.
So are there other ways that you market, or is that primarily it?
Primarily it. In all honesty, with the exception of the trucks that I run that are plastered with our logo and numbers, but that's about it. I've never taken out any advertising. I think this is the type of market that we're in, though, also at different times. I can't say that 7 or 8 years ago when I started, could I have maybe taken out an ad somewhere, but I don't think I had to. And I was told, I think you're missing Instagram. I said, what's Instagram? I said, I swear I didn't know. And I said, okay, I'll do Instagram, and then forget it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's all about the visual.
It genuinely is. It genuinely comes down to the visual. But as far as like, what did you ask me in the beginning? What we're doing going forward?
Yeah, What are you doing going forward, and what keeps your creative juices pumping?
Aside from everything else, the finished product and everything, I think now also expansion. So now we're in multiple states: New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. We'll do Austin, Texas in January, and Florida is sort of right now in the works. that level of expansion also is motivating me to continue going forward. So now we're building a recognizable brand, right? So now you see that Evolution logo, and okay, so Evo's in town. Let's give them a call. But also, I mean, we're outside of the founding location here in New York. We're a women-owned business. I mean, that's inspirational. I mean, you have an industry that, in all honesty, I think is run by women. But now my brand is, because of the other locations that I open up as partnerships, they're all women-owned businesses now. So that's also inspirational. So the further we go, am I going to only have owner-operators that are women? I don't know, maybe. But that's how it's looking now. So, and that I like too. That's helping me vision even further out.
Well, I think we love your story, and being a woman-owned business, I love the fact that you are, helping other women, push forward and growth and opportunity. So keep up the great work, Cris. How can people find you? Like, what's your Instagram? What's your website? Can you share with the audience?
Instagram is Evolution Event Rentals, and what'll happen is you'll come across the different locations, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Connecticut, and so forth and so forth. But the main showcase is the New York branch, and then evolutioneventrentals.com is the website, which we will eventually get to updating.
That's okay. I think you have Instagram, so you're doing a lot right now.
Yeah.
And you've been an extension of the Donyshia Blanc family in Long Island. You came on board as a collaborator last year, and we're so excited to see your growth and then partner with you right here in Long Island. It's all about collaboration. So that's
and we're excited for that event too. I mean, that event, I think I explained to you the other day in the warehouse that the first time around, I didn't realize how large scale of a phenomenon this thing is, and what it started.
He was pitching me. I loved it.
It started in like 1987 or 88, and it grew to again this global party that everybody throws in the same exact fashion. All white, picnic tables. You bring your own gear, you bring your own stuff, and that's it. But it's not just a small party. I mean, there's thousands of people that attend this. It is a major event. We're super excited to be a part of it. And it's not just an event; it's a global event to me. So it expands the reach, I think. Once you're under that hashtag, forget about it. So
I think so. And again, we are happy to have you on our show today.
Yes,
I know. For Ray, and he has 3 daughters, so I'm sure he'll be, circling back to you on some of that creativity. So
I wish I'd known about you when my daughter's Sweet 16 was around.
But now you do, and you have 2 more coming.
2 more coming. 3 weddings too.
Wow.
Yes. And that's what it's about, year over year, right? You're with people for generations to come.
Absolutely. And again, that's part of the deal, is that once you start something with somebody, you can build something very long term. And that goes to say for a lot of small businesses. It could be anything. It could be a pizzeria. You could be serving pizzeria to me and then pizzeria to my grandson 25, 30 years from now. Who knows? I mean, it's just a matter of how you treat the client, and the client is us. Without the client, then we're done. That's it.
I like to leave you with DB's philosophy. They call us dreamers, but we are the ones that don't sleep. Thanks, Cris.
Yeah, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, guys.
My name is Ray Schwetz, along with the co-host, Donyshia Boston Hill. The creative director of Tower Talk Business Radio is Rudy Britty. This is an NCC Foundation, Business Leaders Council production. Visit nccradio.org for more information. Available on iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. On the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk with you next week.